Daniel Carter stood tall in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, his heart pounding but his expression calm. The room was a vast dome filled with glowing holograms and strange symbols that floated in the air, casting faint lights on the faces of the council members. Around him, beings from dozens of alien species leaned forward in their seats, their eyes fixed on the human ambassador. Some looked curious, others annoyed, and a few seemed outright hostile. Daniel took a deep breath, feeling the weight of billions of people back on Earth resting on his shoulders. For years, humanity had played by the rules set by the Galactic Council. They had followed protocols, paid tariffs, and accepted decisions that often favored older, more established civilizations. But today was different. Today, Daniel had come to say what many humans had been thinking for decades. Enough was enough. Esteemed members of the council, Daniel began, his voice steady, despite the storm of emotions inside him. Humanity has stood by your side since the day we joined this alliance. We have contributed our knowledge, our resources, and our strength to every mission you've called upon us to undertake. Yet, time and again, we are treated as outsiders, as newcomers unworthy of respect. He paused, letting his words sink in. A murmur rippled through the chamber, but he pressed on. We are not asking for special treatment, Daniel continued. We are simply demanding fairness. Fairness in trade agreements, fairness in decision-making, and fairness in how humanity is viewed among the stars. But if this council cannot provide that, then we will no longer be part of it. The room exploded into chaos. Alien voices shouted in languages Daniel couldn't understand, while others gestured wildly in protest. One reptilian creature slammed its fist on a table, sending a shockwave through the floor. Another, a tall insectoid being, hissed angrily, its antennae twitching. Amidst the noise, Daniel remained composed. He turned and walked toward the exit, ignoring the jeers and insults hurled at his back. His steps echoed loudly in the cavernous hall, each one deliberate and firm. Outside the chamber, reporters swarmed around him, cameras flashing and questions flying fast. Ambassador Carter, why did you walk out? One asked. What does this mean for Earth's future? Demanded another. Daniel raised a hand to silence them. Today marks a new chapter for humanity, he said simply. We are done seeking approval from those who refuse to see us as equals. From now on, we chart our own course. Back on Earth, news of Daniel's declaration spread like wildfire. Social media erupted with hashtags like #FreedomForEarth and #NoMoreCouncil. In living rooms, bars, and offices, people debated the move. Some cheered, raising glasses to celebrate what they saw as a bold step toward independence. Others frowned, worried about the risks of alienating powerful allies. Sarah Miller, a journalist covering the story, watched the reactions unfold online. She felt conflicted herself. Was this act of defiance brave or reckless? In Washington, D.C., President Rachel Monroe sat in the Oval Office, staring at a live feed of Daniel's speech. Her face was unreadable, but her hands gripped the edge of her desk tightly. Behind her, military advisors whispered urgently, discussing contingency plans. No matter how confident Daniel sounded, everyone knew the galaxy wouldn't take this lightly. Walking away from the Galactic Council wasn't just a political statement, it was a gamble that could either elevate humanity or destroy it. As night fell over Earth, cities buzzed with excitement and fear. For better or worse, humanity had made its choice. The real question was, what would come next? The days following Daniel Carter's bold announcement were a whirlwind of emotion and uncertainty. On Earth, opinions clashed like stormy waves against a rocky shore. In New York City, crowds gathered in Times Square, holding signs that read, "Stand strong, Earth, and no more alien rules." Cheers echoed through the streets as some celebrated humanity's newfound independence. But not everyone shared the same enthusiasm. In quieter neighborhoods, people sat in coffee shops or around dinner tables, their faces etched with worry. Sarah Miller spent hours interviewing citizens for her next article. She spoke to Lucas Bennett, a former soldier who had lost friends during conflicts involving the Galactic Council. Lucas stood tall, his arms crossed, as he explained his stance. "We've been treated like second-class members for too long," he said firmly. "This is our chance to prove we don't need them." His words carried conviction, but Sarah noticed the tension in his jaw, the flicker of doubt behind his eyes. Others weren't so optimistic. At a small diner in Chicago, Sarah met Maria Lopez, a factory worker whose job depended on materials imported from alien trade routes. "What happens if they stop selling to us?" Maria asked, stirring her coffee nervously. "How are we supposed to survive without their tech and resources?" "We're not ready for this." Her voice trembled slightly, and Sarah couldn't help but feel a pang of unease herself. Meanwhile, President Rachel Monroe faced mounting pressure. The Oval Office was crowded with advisors, each offering conflicting advice. Military leaders urged her to prepare for retaliation, while economic experts warned of collapsing markets. Outside the White House, protesters held banners demanding answers. Some supported the decision to leave the Galactic Council, while others called for Daniel Carter's resignation. Rachel sat at her desk, rubbing her temples as she listened to the chaos around her. She knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she also understood there was no turning back now. In space, the first signs of trouble began to emerge. Human colonies along the outer rim reported strange activity, unidentified ships lurking near their borders. Jennifer Cole, an engineer stationed on a remote mining outpost, felt a chill run down her spine as she watched the surveillance feeds. The ships were sleek and unfamiliar, their designs unlike anything she'd seen before. When one of them fired on a supply vessel, panic erupted among the colonists. Jennifer quickly sent out a distress signal, hoping Earth would respond in time. Back on the planet, the news of the attack spread rapidly. Social media lit up with videos and messages from terrified colonists. People demanded action, but the government struggled to coordinate a response. Without the Galactic Council's network of allies, communication between distant colonies was slow and unreliable. Sarah covered the story tirelessly, traveling to affected areas and speaking to survivors. She couldn't shake the feeling that humanity was stepping into uncharted territory, and the path ahead was riddled with danger. Amid the growing tension, Daniel Carter found himself under intense scrutiny. Supporters hailed him as a hero, but critics accused him of recklessness. During a live interview, a journalist pressed him about the potential consequences of his actions. "Do you realize what you've done?" the reporter asked sharply. Daniel met the question head-on, his expression unwavering. "I realize exactly what I've done," he replied. "I've given humanity a chance to stand on its own 2 feet. Yes, it will be hard. Yes, sacrifices will have to be made, but freedom never comes without a price." As the days passed, the cracks in humanity's unity became more apparent. Protests turned violent in some cities, and political rivals seized the opportunity to undermine President Monroe's leadership. Yet, even in the face of division, a spark of hope remained. Across the globe, ordinary people began organizing grassroots movements to support the colonies and strengthen Earth's defenses. They built makeshift shelters, donated supplies, and volunteered their time. For all its flaws, humanity refused to give up. But somewhere in the shadows, enemies watched and waited. The attacks on the outer colonies were just the beginning, and deep down, everyone knew it. The attacks on the outer colonies escalated quickly, spreading fear across the galaxy. Ships with unknown markings appeared without warning, striking mining outposts and research stations with brutal efficiency. The attackers left little behind: scorched ruins and silent communication channels. Jennifer Cole, stationed at Outpost Delta 7, found herself in the middle of one such assault. It started with a low hum, almost like the sound of distant thunder. At first, Jennifer thought it was just another routine system check, but then alarms began blaring throughout the facility. She rushed to the control room, her boots echoing against the metal floors. On the surveillance screens, 3 sleek ships hovered ominously outside the outpost's protective shields. Their shapes were jagged and menacing, unlike anything she had ever seen before. "Get everyone to the emergency bunkers," Jennifer shouted into her comms device, her voice sharp with urgency. Her hands moved quickly over the console, trying to activate defensive systems. But the outpost wasn't built for combat. It was a mining station, designed for resource extraction, not warfare. Within minutes, the shields collapsed under the enemy's relentless barrage. Explosions rocked the structure, sending debris flying through corridors. Jennifer barely made it to safety, diving into the bunker moments before the main entrance caved in. Around her, terrified colonists huddled together, their faces pale with shock. She grabbed a handheld communicator and sent out a distress signal, praying Earth would receive it in time. "This is Outpost Delta 7, she said, her voice trembling. Despite her efforts to stay calm, "We're under attack. Request immediate assistance." Then all she could do was wait. Back on Earth, the distress signal sparked panic in military command centers. General William Hayes paced the war room, his brow furrowed, as officers scrambled to assess the situation. Maps of human-controlled space, lit up with red markers, indicating recent attacks. "They're targeting our weakest points," Hayes muttered, slamming his fist onto the table. "Colonies with no defenses, minimal personnel. They're testing us." President Rachel Monroe joined the meeting, her face grim. "What are our options?" she asked, looking at the assembled advisors. One officer stepped forward, pointing to a holographic display. "We can send reinforcements, but it'll take days to reach Delta 7. By then." He trailed off, unable to finish the sentence. Everyone knew what he meant. The outpost might already be lost. Meanwhile, Daniel Carter faced growing criticism for his decision to leave the Galactic Council. Critics argued that humanity's isolation made them vulnerable, while supporters insisted the attacks were proof that the Council couldn't protect them anyway. During a heated press conference, a reporter confronted him directly. "Isn't this exactly what we warned about? That leaving the Council would leave us exposed?" Daniel clenched his jaw, but kept his composure. "These attacks aren't about the Council," he replied firmly. "They're about power. Someone wants to exploit our independence, but we won't back down." As news of the attacks spread, people on Earth reacted in different ways. Some rallied behind the government, volunteering for emergency response teams, or donating supplies to affected families. Others grew angry, blaming both the aliens and their own leaders for the chaos. Sarah Miller covered the unfolding events, traveling to areas hit hardest by the crisis. In one town, she met a young boy clutching a picture of his father, who worked at a colony, now presumed destroyed. "Is he coming home?" the boy asked, tears streaming down his cheeks. Sarah didn't have an answer. In orbit around Earth, engineers worked tirelessly to upgrade outdated defense systems. Emily Dawson, a brilliant scientist known for her work on energy weapons, led the effort. "If we can't rely on allies, we'll have to rely on ourselves," she told her team. Late into the night, they tested prototypes, knowing lives depended on their success. But the real challenge lay ahead. The attackers showed no signs of slowing down, and humanity's resources were stretched thin. For every colony they managed to defend, 2 more fell under siege. Fear lingered in the air, a constant reminder of how fragile their position truly was. Yet amidst the uncertainty, small acts of courage began to shine through ordinary people, stepping up when it mattered most, proving that even in the darkest times, humanity refused to give up. Amid the chaos, a glimmer of hope emerged from an unexpected source. Zixer, a reptilian diplomat from a lesser-known alien species, reached out to Amanda Lewis, a human scientist working on advanced propulsion technology. Zixer's message was cryptic but urgent. Your enemies are not acting alone. I can help you fight back. At first, Amanda hesitated. Trusting an alien, especially now, felt like a risk she couldn't afford to take. But curiosity and desperation got the better of her. She arranged a secret meeting on a neutral space station orbiting a distant moon. When Amanda arrived, she found Zixer waiting in a dimly lit docking bay. The reptilian creature stood taller than most humans, its scales shimmering faintly under the fluorescent lights. Its eyes, sharp and intelligent, studied her carefully. You're taking a big chance coming here, Amanda said, crossing her arms. And so are you, Zixer replied, its voice deep and raspy. But if we don't act now, your species may not survive the next wave of attacks. It handed her a data chip. This contains information about the enemy's movements, their supply lines, and their weaknesses. Use it wisely. Amanda took the chip cautiously, her mind racing with questions. Why was Zixer helping them? What did it stand to gain? Despite her doubts, she decided to trust the alien for now. Back on Earth, she uploaded the data into secure systems, sharing it only with a small group of trusted colleagues. The intel revealed that the attackers were part of a rogue faction within the Galactic Council, determined to punish humanity for leaving. More importantly, it showed vulnerabilities in their operations' weak points that could be exploited. Word of the Shadow Alliance spread quietly among key figures. General William Hayes was skeptical at first, dismissing the idea of working with aliens as too risky. But when Amanda presented evidence of successful simulations based on Zixer's data, he reluctantly agreed to consider it. If this works, we might have a fighting chance, Hayes admitted during a private briefing. But if it fails, we're looking at total disaster. Meanwhile, Daniel Carter faced mounting pressure from both allies and critics. Some praised him for standing firm, while others accused him of leading humanity into ruin. During a live interview, a journalist pressed him about rumors of collaboration with alien forces. Are you saying we should trust them after everything they've done? The reporter asked sharply. Daniel leaned forward, his expression calm but resolute. Not all aliens are our enemies, he said. Just like not all humans are saints. If someone offers us a way to protect our people, we'd be fools not to listen. As Amanda worked tirelessly to integrate Zixer's intelligence into Earth's defense strategies, Sarah Miller uncovered another layer of the story. Through anonymous sources, she learned about the Shadow Alliance and its role in turning the tide of battle. Her articles sparked heated debates, with some calling it treasonous to collaborate with outsiders. Others argued it was a necessary step toward survival on the front lines. Jennifer Cole finally received reinforcements at Outpost Delta 7, though the colony had been severely damaged. The arrival of Earth's fleet boosted morale. Soldiers distributed supplies and began repairing critical systems. Jennifer, still shaken from the attack, threw herself into the recovery efforts. We're not giving up this place, she told her team. Not without a fight. Back in orbit, Emily Dawson's team made breakthroughs in weapon design, using insights from Zixer's data to create more effective energy cannons. Late one night, as she reviewed test results, Emily allowed herself a rare smile. This could change everything, she whispered to herself. The Shadow Alliance wasn't just about weapons or strategies. It was about proving that cooperation could transcend fear and mistrust. For every life saved and every victory won, humanity took one step closer to securing its place among the stars. Yet, even as hope grew, the looming threat remained. The enemy was still out there, watching and waiting, and everyone knew the hardest battles were yet to come. The Battle of Epsilon 9 became a defining moment for humanity, test of whether they could hold their ground against overwhelming odds. The enemy fleet, larger and more advanced than anything Earth had faced before, descended upon the mining outpost with terrifying precision. Commander Ryan Scott, a seasoned officer known for his calm under pressure, stood on the bridge of the lead battleship, staring at the glowing dots on the tactical display. Each one represented an alien vessel, and there were far too many. We're outnumbered 3-1, muttered Lieutenant Harper, standing beside him. Her voice was tight with tension, but she didn't flinch. Ryan nodded, his jaw clenched. Then we'll have to be smarter than them, he replied firmly. He turned to address the crew. This isn't just about defending Epsilon 9. This is about showing the galaxy that humanity doesn't back down. Not now, not ever. Ryan's plan relied heavily on Amanda Lewis's experimental weapons, designed using Zixer's intelligence. The new energy cannons were untested in real combat, but they offered a glimmer of hope. As the enemy fleet approached, Ryan gave the order to deploy drones equipped with these weapons. Small and agile, the drones darted between the alien ships, firing bursts of concentrated energy that tore through their shields. For the first time, the attackers hesitated, their formations breaking as they scrambled to respond. But the battle wasn't won yet. The aliens regrouped quickly, launching waves of fighters toward Earth's fleet. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as missiles streaked across the void. Inside the command ship, alarms blared constantly, and sparks flew from damaged consoles. Despite the chaos, Ryan remained focused, barking orders with steady authority. Redirect power to the aft shields. Keep those drones moving. Back on Epsilon 9, Jennifer Cole and the surviving colonists watched the battle unfold from inside the bunker. The ground shook as debris from destroyed ships rained down around them. Jennifer held her breath, praying the reinforcements would hold their position. She clutched a handheld communicator, listening to updates from the fleet. Every explosion felt like a punch to her chest, but she refused to give in to despair. "We've come too far to lose now," she whispered to herself. As the fight dragged on, Emily Dawson monitored the performance of the experimental weapons from a nearby support vessel. Data streamed across her screens, showing that the energy cannons were working better than expected. But the strain on the system was immense, and some drones began to fail. "We need to push harder," she shouted to her team. "If we can disable their flagship, the rest will fall into disarray." With trembling hands, she adjusted the targeting algorithms, aiming for the largest alien vessel. Finally, a breakthrough came. One of the drones struck the enemy flagship dead center, crippling its engines. The massive ship drifted helplessly, its once imposing presence reduced to a smoking hulk. Seeing their leader falter, the remaining alien ships began retreating, vanishing into the depths of space. Cheers erupted across Earth's fleet, though the victory was bittersweet. Dozens of human ships lay in ruins, and countless lives had been lost. When the dust settled, Ryan addressed his crew. "Today, we proved something important, not just to the galaxy, but to ourselves. We're stronger than anyone thought possible." His words echoed through the ship, lifting spirits even as exhaustion set in. On Earth, news of the victory spread quickly, sparking celebrations in cities around the globe. People waved flags and sang songs, proud of what their defenders had achieved. But Sarah Miller, covering the aftermath, couldn't ignore the cost. She spoke to grieving families and wounded soldiers, capturing stories of loss alongside triumph. "This win came at a price," she wrote in her article, "and it reminds us that freedom always demands sacrifice." For Daniel Carter, the battle reinforced his belief that humanity could stand on its own. Speaking at a press conference, he praised the bravery of the troops and thanked Zixer's faction for their support. "This proves that when we work together, even with unlikely allies, we can overcome any challenge," he said. Yet beneath the celebration's unease lingered. The enemy had retreated, but everyone knew they would return, and next time, they might bring reinforcements. Humanity had earned a reprieve, but the war was far from over.